Your fitness journey should feel good. It should feel fun, sustainable, and shame-free. Those are the three values that I believe should guide a fitness journey. And those are the three values that I try to present here on this channel. And I haven't really done a video yet kind of really showing the thesis of this channel. So with this video, I want to talk about what I've noticed in the fitness culture and industry for the last decade or so, what I've seen just anecdotally, how people tend to think about their own fitness journey, and really lay out these three values in detail to really get to the heart of your fitness journey and really help you have a better relationship with fitness. And so this one's gonna be a deep dive, might be a longer video than some of my others. So relax, maybe play this while you're having breakfast or cleaning your house or going on a walk. But I think it'll be valuable for you. So, I've been lifting weights for over a decade now. And, what I've observed in that time, and also looking at those 10 years and also looking at, historical, ways of fitness marketing and media and discussions. What I've just found is that the values that kind of mainstream fitness media uses, so in the early days, maybe through, magazines and infomercials and, cassette tapes versus like now with, the internet and with YouTube videos, things like that, is that fitness culture tends to focus on the wrong things, in my opinion. And, to get this out of the way in this video, I'm not really trying to attack any individuals. I'm kind of looking at more cultural patterns I've noticed, systemic patterns I've noticed. And so this isn't meant to, criticize any individual. I think this is part of a larger conversation that I'd like to have that I think then impacts the everyday individual who's just trying to have a better relationship with the gym or exercise. So, what I've noticed is that at the end of the day, I think people just feel kind of bad about their fitness journey, for lack of a better word. That's just the best word I can think of. They just feel kind of bad. They feel like it has to be very serious. They feel like it has to be really intense. They feel like they need to feel some type of morality or shame associated with it, and that those are the keys for fitness. And what I found is that kind of fall into two or three different camps. So the first camp is, because you just feel so bad about this thing, you kind of avoid it and you just don't really want to go into that type of habit because you don't want it to be you don't want to kind of put yourself through all that pain, or you just feel ashamed of who you are, so you avoid it, which is honestly a very human reaction. When I say they avoid it, I'm not even saying that in any type of criticism. I think that's fair if you're just feeling bad about something. And then in the second, you might go into that being like, all right, I'm going to be really intense with my fitness experience. I'm going to push really hard. I might even talk negatively about myself to kind of like motivate myself. And that might work for 6 months, a year, however long. And then you'll just start to get burnt out because at the end of the day, most people just don't like to live with that voice in their head kind of constantly telling them that they're, a bad person or they're doing bad or they have to, grind or be really intense. And then the third path is that you might stick with it and stay motivated, but because you're using all of these kind of negative coping strategies, or negative motivational strategies, intensity and shame, it might just turn into something that you are technically working out, but you just have this kind of twisted relationship with it where you feel bad if you don't work out. You might develop some other mental health issues where, you feel like if you didn't work out hard enough, you just don't feel good about yourself. You might sacrifice other things just to get your workout in. In serious cases, people can even develop mental health conditions or eating disorders because they're pushing so hard at the gym. They can develop physical conditions, And so, you know, this type of culture of people just feeling bad about their workout routine, that internal guilt and shame people feel is, you know, to me, not the right path. And then what I find is like, you know, the fitness journey is very emotional. You know, there's a reason people cry at the end of their marathons, or they feel really proud of themselves when they've, you know, finally started that habit, or they reach a certain goal in the gym. Maybe it was, you know, carrying a certain weight, or, you know, accomplishing a certain task that they thought was impossible, you know, 6 months or a year prior. So the fitness journey is very emotional, but a lot of the media, you know, it will focus, again, like making people feel bad about their experience, and or when they're trying to just give advice, they kind of give very practical on the surface advice, which is not inherently bad at all. So, you know, that I'm not trying to criticize inherently, because, you know, sometimes I just need, hey, you know, what's a good exercise for this goal? I just need that practical advice. You know, I don't need the deep dives that, you know, I tend to like. You know, sometimes I just need that practical advice. But I think what can happen is that when people feel really bad about their fitness journey, and then they go and just find practical advice, which is what's there's kind of a gap where they're getting all this practical advice, but they haven't really solved that root sense of values about how they're going to approach their fitness journey. So maybe they have the quote unquote perfect workout program, but if they're approaching it in a way that's, you know, ultra self-serious, if they're approaching it in a way that they won't be able to maintain forever, and they're approaching it in a way that makes them just feel bad about themselves, then, you know, there's kind of a gap where they haven't really fixed the heart of their fitness journey. And that's what I want to try to do for you, to, if you're struggling with kind of that core experience, you know, really bettering a relationship with fitness. I don't just think about my workout routine, but I think about people's relationship with fitness. And I think I'm very passionate about making that a really positive one, because I think when you find that relationship with fitness that feels good, it can be really life-changing, and it can just be such a positive force in your life that has all this positivity that kind of transfers outward in the rest of your life. So that's kind of my long-winded intro. So I want to talk about the three values that guide my fitness journey, talk about how they might contrast with what I've tended to seen culturally, and then, you know, by the end, hopefully give you kind of a new path forward, and kind of give you some direction of, you know, where this channel might be going, of where it's already been. I think the last 9 videos I've made kind of cover this in certain ways, but, you know, I want to kind of use these values as like guiding forces as I continue to make videos for you. And then for your journey, you know, hopefully it sets you on that kind of positive direction. So the first value I want to discuss for your fitness journey is fun. So, you know, it's such a simple word, fun, but I think it's very powerful in life, I guess. But, you know, that's a scope, that's out of the scope of this channel, but it's a very powerful word for fitness, because, you know, when people talk about what workout routine they should do, it's always, you know, could be, you know, very aesthetic focused. So like, which workouts can I do for my abs and my arms and my legs, shoulders, all of that. Again, not inherently bad. Or they, which workout routine will get me the strongest, or which workout routine is the best. You know, there's some objective metric of the best. And, you know, it's like, I think in life we kind of can acknowledge that everyone's, you know, has, you know, some, you know, we all share so many things, but there's some uniqueness, at least I believe, in each individual. And so, but we were very prescriptive and very sterile, I think, when it comes to like fitness advice. And for me, I had the epiphany like a couple years ago of like, all right, I keep having this kind of, like, my fitness routine I was enjoying it to a certain degree, but it just felt so serious. It felt so, like, okay, I have to do these exercises. Like, these are the exercises I have to do because that's what, you know, X person told me, or Y, you know, magazine I read, or Z YouTube video told me. Like, I can't but it's like I wasn't enjoying those. And, that's not to say like you should just not exercise. I believe that for everyone, there's bound to be some type of movement that people will fall in love with. And so I actually like the Marie Kondo quote, but applied to fitness is choose exercises that spark joy is kind of my spin on that. And I think I've not really seen that many people talk about it, where it's just like, try not to think about what's the most optimal or what's, the quote unquote best, because we're regular people. We're not here to compete in the Olympics or, go to a bodybuilding show or compete in a weightlifting competition. Like, we don't need to optimize our routine. What we need is like consistency and enjoyment so that we keep doing it, from age 30 to age 80. And so, or beyond, and so that's when I kind of changed my mindset of like choosing exercises that I find fun. And it was a very weird mindset shift because I was actively not choosing an optimal routine. And, I would work out and I would be like, I'm going to keep this exercise because I had like a lot of fun in my workout. So, I've mentioned this in some of my other videos, but my favorite 2 exercises are suitcase carries with the kettlebell and clean and press with the kettlebell. And like that took a lot of experimenting to like, there was just a whole year where literally I probably tried like, 50 to 100 different exercises, just experimenting. And, I wasn't, I had that kind of, initial instinct to be like, okay, of these exercises, which ones do the experts say are the best, for muscle growth or all of those things. But then I was like, which exercise did I enjoy doing? Like, which one did I be like, oh, that was fun. That felt like an activity. I'm excited to do it again. And those are the exercises I picked. And it transformed my relationship with fitness because now when I go to the gym, not every time I'm like going in, with crazy excitement, but generally I look at it as like a fun activity I get to do, not like, oh man, I have to do this workout. I get to do it because it's like, oh, I like doing these movements. They're super fun and they're fun for me. They're fun for me because it's the ones I chose. So that's why I'm not like, these are the 2 exercises you should do. You should do the exercises that you find fun. And, that's what brings that childlike joy. Like if you think about when we're kids, no one told us what were the best equipment on the playground. We just did we just went to the parts of the playground that were fun, that were, that enjoyed us. And like for some kids, that was the slide. And for some kids, that was, the tetherball court. And for some kids, that was like kickball. And for some kids, that was just like running around on the grass. And some kids, it was hopscotch. I can keep going with everything. But, taking that fun, you kind of start to feel like this childlike joy come into fitness, which can feel such a contrast because, so much fitness motivation is like, you got to be serious, you got to lock in, you got to stay hard, you got to be like intense. Like, this is no time for games. And it's like, it's so self-serious because it's like, all right, for 99% of us, we're not going to a battle. We're like going to our workout and then going to like our jobs and then hanging out with our friends and family. Like our lives are not that serious. You don't need to have this kind of like battle mindset, this like survivor mindset. You can just and even if it's not that intense, you don't need to even go in being like, this is this task I need to do. Maybe it's not, we have those extremes I've seen, but then even less extreme, I've seen people just be like, oh, this is like a task I need to do and I need to get like serious about it. I need to, get disciplined and I need to get, I need to pull my act together, or like I need to really do this because I haven't been doing this. And the way to do that is to get like serious about fitness and to lock in. But no, you don't need to have that mindset, in my opinion. Like, look at it as like a new activity. Look at it like, as like, a new sport you get to try, or a new board game you get to try, or like a new recipe you get to cook. Like just a new activity. Just approach it with fun. Think of like, if I was 6 years old and you went to the gym, like what toys would you want to play with? Like these are all just like toys in the gym that you just get to play with, and then try it out and see what you like. So, take that take that sense of fun and just run with it. Just have, just have like a ball at the gym. Like think of it as a fun time. Go with your friends. Just make it a fun experience. And like don't let anyone tell you like you're doing, your workouts wrong because you're prioritizing fun over like the best optimal workouts, just have fun with it. And I think a lot of fitness culture can want to make it serious. I think it sells to kind of show this like intensity and the seriousness to the gym. I think that's like what's sold for so long. And it can look cool, and it can make you feel like you're doing something wrong. And, it kind of works with that sometimes like overly masculine kind of mentality of like you need to be serious, and you need to be intense, and you need to just grind or hustle it out. But no, I think it can be a fun, joyful, playful experience, fitness, exercise, the gym. And, that's what I believe. And yeah, I think for most people, I think it would benefit them. So that's the first value of this channel. The second value is sustainable. So I fully believe that your fitness routine should be sustainable. And, what that looks like is that, all right, so even if you're having fun, does that mean now you do it every day? I mean, you can if you maybe work out like 10 minutes a day, but generally, like if you're a busy person, and, you have, career, you have relationships you care about in your life, you have other hobbies, you're not in your like teens or early 20s anymore, you're not supposed to be grinding out a workout like as hard as possible, doing 10 out of 10 workouts, going 5-6 days a week. Inherently, your body needs rest. And even when I say 5-6 days a week, like 5-6 days a week might work for you if you genuinely feel like it can be a forever thing. So I just use 5-6 days a week as an example because I think for most people that wouldn't work. But really, the simple way to look at this is whatever workout routine you have going on or you want to start, do you believe in your heart that you can do it forever? And when forever, that means like as you're getting older, as life gets busier, through, tough periods at work or in your life where it's like, okay, this work, like life's just kind of crazy for like 3-6 months. Can I keep this workout routine going even during those periods? And, I think a lot of people don't think of it like that. And I think a lot of, again, the fitness industry and marketing looks very short term, look at even a lot of the marketing, like here's how to, get in shape in 30 days or, a few years ago, there was a whole, trend of like getting abs in 2 weeks, like during the pandemic that like went viral. And, but then what happens after those 2 weeks, or what happens after, the 30-day challenge, or, the 75 days of 75 hard, which is the 75-day challenge. Your body, when it's adapting to the benefits of exercise, it doesn't take the benefits and then it's like, all right, we're just going to keep them. It needs to kind of, it has to be an ongoing thing for the benefits to stay. The benefits will go away. Like if you build strength and then you stop exercising and you fall off, like the strength will go away. And same with like the mobility and muscle, and in the, the good mood and those other benefits. So, I think sometimes when we go into the fitness experience, it kind of, this part overlaps a little bit with the first one, where part of intensity and being serious is also a level of like going as much as you can, as hard as you can. But I think it's like a little bit different than the fun, whereas like I think even when you're having fun or you're enjoying your workout, you still can think that, okay, I found a workout routine I like, but now I need to do it a lot. And it's like, I made a video called "You Only Need 2 Workouts a Week." And I believe that like you can do 2 full body workouts a week, and that's enough to kind of make the progress you want and get the benefits of exercise. And when I think about 2 workouts a week, the reason I settled on that is like, okay, compared to say 3, even 3 for most people, that's like every other day almost. And so, life can just get really busy, and even that can be I'm not confident I can give that recommendation for every single person to maintain forever into their 40s and 50s and 60s and on, you know? But 2 days a week to me is like the sweet spot of like, you get the benefits. And I genuinely believe a lot of people, you know, I don't want to say all people because I don't know your story or your experience, but like a lot of people could keep it up forever. And so for me, you know, even when I would find workout routines I liked, like I would have this thing of feeling like, oh, if I missed a day or if I don't go 4 or 5 days a week, you know, that's not good. Like I need to be intense. But then I would get burnt out, and I would never think like, well, yeah, I'm going 4 or 5 days a week, you know, March of whatever this year, but am I actually going to be able to keep that up the next year or the year after that or in 5 years? So when I think sustainable, I think like choose your exercises, choose the amount of time you're going to work out, choose the number of days you're going to work out per week in a way that genuinely feels sustainable. And I think the reason this isn't marketed is because it's less, you know, it's less enticing. It's not fun to hear like, build a fitness journey that you feel happy with for the rest of your life. I mean, that does sound nice to me, but like versus, you know, get the body of your dreams in 30 days. Like that latter sounds, you know, a bit more, like that sounds more fun, right? Like even when I think about my YouTube titles, it's like I try to make them balanced because I don't want to sell some quick, you know, the fitness version of a get rich quick scheme. You know, I want it to feel like changing the heart of your fitness journey. And so a lot of marketing doesn't want to promote that sustainability because, you know, it's not as exciting to think, okay, I'm going to build this healthy habit that's going to just be an integrated part of my life. That doesn't sound as fun as like, I'm going to transform everything in 2 weeks. But the problem is that, as I mentioned, like when you try to transform everything in 2 weeks or 30 days or even 6 months, like what happens after? Do you get burnt out from the first? You realize how it's unsustainable. And then you've built up this all or nothing mindset. And a lot of times, you know, you want to think, okay, well, I'll go 5 days a week for now, and then I'll drop to like 2 or 3. But you haven't built the mental relationship where you can see fitness as like a 2 or 3 day a week thing. And a lot of times what happens is people just fall off completely. It's like a mental thing where you haven't thought of it in a balanced way. So you can't overnight switch it from like intense to balanced. A lot of times it goes from intense to off. And I've seen this a lot with people in my life online. And, you know, again, not to make them feel bad about that. Like it makes sense. Like that's also happened to me because we're so used to thinking this all or nothing mindset when it comes to health or fitness. If I'm not doing 4 workouts a week, if I'm not doing this 5 workouts a week, then what's the point? But the point is for it to just be sustainable. So, you know, if you're feeling motivated, start off slow. Start off with, my recommendation is usually like 2 workouts a week, 2 to 3 exercises, 20 to 30 minutes each. Like that's, you know, that's my recommendation. And that doesn't sound, you know, that goes against the grain for a lot of recommendations because it's not so overly intense. And, you know, there's variations of that. Like I've also seen people enjoy like 6 days a week, but they do like 10 minutes each day. So it's more of like almost like a daily meditation approach. I think that works out great. I might even make a video like, you know, about like that approach. But yeah, I would just say approach your fitness routine with a forever mindset, sustainability, and that's also going to better your relationship with fitness because you're not going to see this as like this big, scary, overwhelming thing that I need to like throw into my life. It's like, oh, it just becomes this, you know, this little added rock into all these other rocks that kind of make my life rich and balanced. Oh, that's not so scary. Oh, that's actually kind of nice to just like add a little extra, you know, sauce to the rest of my life, you know? And it's just a better way to go about it. And you're going to keep with it. There's going to be something very empowering you feel when you know, the first 2-3 months, you might be like, well, I've only done a couple workouts a week, but look like 5-10 years when you're like, wow, yeah, it started off kind of like not that exciting, but now I can say I worked out consistently for 10, 20, 30 years because I kept it sustainable. And that's going to create this really healthy relationship with fitness where you're like, oh, this is like a forever thing for me. This isn't this up and down roller coaster that you just kind of keep going on and off of. You know, that also creates a lot of emotional tension and a kind of a contentious relationship with fitness as this entity where you think of it as this like thing I was really into it, but then I fell off and I feel bad about that. But now I'm back on, I'm going to go intense. And it's like versus just this smooth kind of river of like, I just kind of kept with it for many years, and it just feels this calm part of my life that I love. So that would be the second value of I would recommend for your fitness journey, just making it sustainable. And then the third value is shame-free. And this is the one that I feel probably the most passionate about, and if I'm being honest with you, the most nervous to talk about, because I think this is kind of a taboo topic in the fitness culture. People might not want to acknowledge it, or they might even want to defend shame as a motivating tool. But I need to be honest with what I believe is that shame should not be a motivating tool for fitness, and your fitness journey should come from a place of a shame-free mindset. And I think a lot of people think, they might even genuinely think shame is a good motivating tool, and that if I'm going to give benefit of the doubt and think like, oh, that's the way I'm going to actually help people if I shame them. But I just don't agree with that. And then there's obviously like bad actors who like, they kind of want to make people feel bad and shame them because it makes them feel better about themselves. And you'll see that in media, you'll see that in like interviews with personal trainers, you'll see that on YouTube. And this whole thing of shame as a motivating tool is like at the core making you feel bad about your fitness journey. But it's like, who is anyone else to tell you to feel bad about your experience with fitness? Like that's your journey that you're going on, that you're trying to make it the best version of yourself. And I don't think people are very conscious when they're making people feel bad. They make it all about personal responsibility or personal development, and they say like, oh, if you're not going to the gym, then like something's wrong with you. Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, oh, like they're not thinking all the things that could make it hard. People might not be going to the gym because they're so busy with their lives, with their careers, with their work. Sure, people say like, oh, you have 24 hours in the day, but like that's such a generalized statement. And it's like, oh, but some people work 2 jobs and have 4 kids. Like, they're busy, they don't have time to get their workouts in. And then you have people can feel ashamed from a financial perspective. Like, they just think, oh, all you got to do is just get up and go. But workout equipment is expensive. A gym memberships can be expensive. Driving to the gym costs money. There's all these financial barriers that can make it hard. Even just gym clothes that are comfortable to sweat in cost money, especially some of them cost a lot of money. And a lot of times if people are all, and I got, these things overlap. Like, if people are also having any difficulties financially, then they're also probably busy with their lives trying to get out of, that situation, or, just working hard in general. And so that, there's a time component, and then a financial component that might make it hard for people. Then there's an identity difficulty that people have. Gyms tend to be feel very male dominated, and can have a bit of a culture of like aggression and intensity. And again, I just want to clarify here that I'm not calling anyone out individually. I've met a lot of wonderful people in the gym, but I think you kind of have to turn a blind eye to not see that the gym as a whole can just feel, have a certain vibe to it. There's a reason there's the term like gym bro, and like people have a mindset when they think about the gym. It can be very aggressive, and it can be very off-putting. And so if someone's like a racial minority, a gender minority, a sexual minority, they might not always feel the most welcome in these spaces. And that can make it hard for them to, for their fitness journey. There's so much, and there's so much body shaming in the gym if people don't fit a certain body ideal. That can be so difficult. A lot of times women feel, are made to feel really bad about their bodies. If they, there's a stigma about women even strength training, because they quote unquote might get too bulky, which is so ridiculous, because they should just be able to do whatever fitness routine they want that makes them feel good. For any group, if they're in some type of, outside of the typical BMI that's kind of been told to us is what's, the right weight to be, then they're going to be shamed for, not feeling good about their body, or, they're going to be shamed for literally their body, and they're not going to feel good. And that also might make it hard to start, their fitness journey, because they've associated this with something that makes them feel so bad, about themselves. And so, or just, take out a lot of the identity and privilege stuff, but just someone's personality might not fit with what they've seen in the gym. They just might not feel like that's kind of the space they want to enter. So all of these, there's so many things to think about when, putting someone down for not having their fitness journey. And then people might have health issues or disabilities that also make it hard to start. And so, people can't see that. There could be physical health issues that they can't see, disabilities they can't see, mental health issues. There's a host of reasons. And I think people make fitness sound to be the simple thing of like, oh, it's just, just get into the gym and get out. But there's so many systemic issues and personal issues that can make it hard. And, someone might watch this and just think I'm making excuses for people, but, maybe we just see the world differently, because like, I just think of it as like an empathy thing of just like, just being compassionate for what's going on in people's lives. And I'm obviously a proponent of people exercising, because I've built a whole channel just about people exercising. So my goal here isn't to just tell people to not exercise because they're struggling with this. My goal here is to like give people compassion and meet them where they're at, because there's real issues in this world that make it hard for people to exercise, make it hard for people to get in their fitness journey. And so going to the value of shame-free is essentially exercise how you want. It's your journey. So when I say exercise how you want, it encompasses so much. Use the equipment you want. Maybe that's calisthenics, maybe that's barbells, maybe that's kettlebells, maybe that's machines. Maybe for now, just starting, maybe just going for a walk, just move, you haven't been moving, so like walking. Maybe it can be like gardening, or a dance class, or, so many different things that create some type of movement. This channel is called Gym Over 30 because I do see the benefits of strength training and fit and general like weightlifting, but I still want it to be like you should work out how you want. And I think that's so important. And if that includes a gym routine, then yeah, I'm going to also have very gym specific videos for that. But I also, it can also include other forms of movement. And I'd like to make videos that kind of encompasses other forms of movement in your fitness journey too. And so yeah, work out however you want, whatever equipment you want, work out when you want. You don't need a 5 a.m. morning routine. If you need to get your workout in, when your kid's asleep for like the 15-minute nap or whatever, you can work out then. If you need to work out at night, work out where you want. You don't need to go to the gym if you don't feel welcome there. And I'm not also trying to make it like, if you want to kind of get over the social anxiety, you're also welcome in the gym. It goes both ways. Like if you want to kind of have the goal of being comfortable in the gym, then that's awesome. And the gym should be for everyone. And again, I think there's a lot of wonderful people in the gym. Everything I'm talking about, again, is what I've seen systemically or culturally. I'm not saying that individuals in these spaces are bad. And so if you want to go to the gym, work out how you want. Go to the gym, you're welcome there. And I can try to also make videos on how to feel more welcome there internally too. But if just, hey, I just really don't like those gym spaces, then work out at home, work out at a park, work out at, classes. There's nothing wrong with, how you want to do that. And, work out why you want. Like a lot of times what people also project on like your goals, like, oh, I've seen this a lot with meeting personal trainers. They just assume that everyone wants to like lose weight, gain muscle, lose fat. But it's like, those are just two of like a million different reasons. You could be working out to gain muscle and gain strength. And again, nothing wrong with that. But you could also be trying to improve your flexibility. You could just be trying to get out of the house. You could be trying to improve your energy. You could try to just build your like functional day-to-day so that you're less prone to falls or more able to, carry your groceries or put your bag overhead, which does overlap with strength, but it could just be some, more general day-to-day. You're not trying to be the strongest person ever. You could just be looking for a community. You could just be looking, for, a change in routine. There's so many different reasons of why you work out, and no one should tell you that this is this is the right reasons. You decide those things. And yeah, I feel this is the value that I feel like a lot of times we just don't question that shame as a motivating tool, where it comes from, why it's used, the effects it has. Because I think when you use shame as that motivating tool, it just, again, like I mentioned, makes people feel really bad about their fitness routine. And, that's not a mindset that I'd like people to have. I like it to feel this joyful thing. And it's, at the end of the day, I think the way to kind of combat that, we're not going to fix the systemic issues that create that shame, but on a personal level is just embracing your journey and being like, you're going to work out how you want, and there's no wrong way to do it. Just literally do you, do the exercises you want, do it how you want, do it when you want, do it why you want, do it where you want, with whom, just make it yours. And I think doing that will kind of naturally take out some of the internal shame that a lot of people can feel on their fitness experience. It just becomes about what makes you happy, and it's yours. And then if it's yours, there's nothing, you can't really ever feel bad about it, because it's just like you're just doing what makes sense for you. And I think that can be really powerful. And I think a lot of people think that that's not a good motivating tool. People will just get lazy. But it's like, I think that's really underestimating humanity, for lack of a better phrase. That might be strong, but it's like, on nature, people do want to connect with the world and connect with themselves. And I think joy can be a very motivating tool. If you're really loving the movement you're doing, you're going to want to do it. And I honestly believe you'll do it for longer, like positive reinforcement versus negative. And so, yeah, that's, this value is shame-free. I've thought about other words like joyful and compassionate, but I think I picked shame-free as a value on this channel because I think shame itself can be such a strong part of the fitness industry and fitness culture. So yeah, just make your workouts shame-free. Just do it how you want. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to get permission or get approval from anyone on your fitness journey. So yeah, those are the 3 values: fun, sustainable, and shame-free. I really wish that when I started exercising 10 years ago or 11 years ago that I got to see a video like this. And that's not to try to make my video sound so amazing, but more to say those values I wish, I feel like I went in being super serious, thinking my workouts had to be like overly intense, very short term. And I thought that I kind of had to, not like aspects of myself to get myself in the gym. And that worked for a few years, but, I realized I had to change that mindset if I actually wanted to keep it. And, when people, sometimes, in my life, I think a lot of times people ask me how I kind of stay motivated with my workout routine. And I'm kind of it's hard for me to answer, not because I don't know, but because I have this long-winded answer, as you can tell, of like, it goes down to like the values and how I approach it and how I had to change the way my brain thinks about fitness if I actually wanted to keep it forever. Because I saw how a lot of people were struggling with their fitness routine. And I think a lot of times people just think, if I just find the right workout program, then it's going to fix it. But I think it needs to be a deeper exploration if you're struggling. And yeah, this is kind of the way I believe can really help people on their fitness journey. And yeah, I hope you found this valuable. I know this was super long-winded. If you watch this whole thing, I really appreciate it. I know there were some maybe more stronger opinions in this one than some of my other videos. Again, like I mentioned, I've been a bit nervous to make this one, just because, people might disagree with it, but, I feel like I couldn't comfortably just make a channel that's just, just about, the right exercises or just practical advice. I really need to kind of hit the mindsets, because that's what I honestly feel is authentic to how I think about fitness and how I think about the world, and what I genuinely think will help people more than just, giving you a 20-minute workout video. And again, nothing wrong with if channels out there who are just giving practical advice. I'm I never want to attack anyone individually unless I actively believe they're, causing harm. And even then, I'm like, I don't think that's the point. There are people causing harm, unfortunately, in the world, but, I'm here to hopefully spread a positive message about fitness. And, that's the goal here. And so, yeah, if you found this valuable, please let me know. I'd actually really appreciate your comments and feedback on here. Like sometimes I feel like with these like mindsets I have around fitness, if it's, too much or like too intense, but I do strongly believe it. So if this connected with you, especially on this video, I would really appreciate any comments, just hearing your thoughts and hearing the way you might have connected with this. I would love to have those discussions. It would help. It would, that would help me feel even more confident in the ideas I have. And hopefully this changes how you see fitness. I would love to hear your thoughts about this and how it might change your mindsets, and especially even coming back weeks or months after this video comes out. Like if you feel like this has changed you, I would just love to actually have really genuine discussions in the comment sections about this. And yeah, if you found this valuable, as always, I gotta do the YouTuber thing. Please subscribe and share with your communities if you found it valuable. It just really helps the channel grow and hopefully help more people. And it really helps me feel more confident in kind of the goal here. And yeah, let me know what you might want me to talk about next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Thanks.